Welcome to another edition of the YouTube game preview here on Kevin Mack Sports, and happy to have Brendan McGeer of the Pawtucket Times, Woonsocket Call, back with us. Brendan, happy game day for the Providence Xavier game.
Happy game day, and we talking about Dunkin' Donuts. People might have to get a cup tonight because this is a 9 o'clock tip, as we know, Kevin.
9 o'clock tip. So that means you must be doing maybe that PC Xavier game will be your fourth game of the day, something like that.
Something like that. We got a couple things we're working on. Might try to see a hoop game at 6 o'clock and be back in time to see the Friars take on the Musketeers.
Well, and hey, you just sit on your couch and Zoom afterwards. I'll see you on the post-game Zoom. Unlike your trip last week, I understand you actually saw a live college basketball game in person.
Yeah, I didn't have to, watch it on television I did do the Zoom afterwards. It was funny. The where I was situated, I was with around all the UConn beat writers.
So I am referring to the PC at Connecticut game. Sorry about that.
Yes. So I actually moved a section over because I had wanted to listen to Ed Cooley and, Dan Hurley's on the background. Doesn't make a lot of sense for me to kind of go over those guys. So
right.
I had my mask on, sitting in my own section, and college basketball in a pandemic, Kevin.
So tell me, how did they have you set up at stores? Were you way up on top or, medium level? We've been to stores many times.
We were up top, had our glass dividers. Writer I was sitting next to had a Subway sandwich. It kind of made me hungry a little bit, but not like the old days where you go there. I think you walk down a stairwell. There was a pool. They had that dingy back row of, was badly lit, but different circumstances. But the bottom line is I actually got to see a college basketball game in person this year.
Yeah.
Off the box.
And it's certainly one that didn't go well for the Friars. I thought Connecticut actually played very well in that game, but, then Providence has had some time off. And I guess it's almost as if we have no idea what to expect from the Friars tonight, except you would assume that they'd be certainly fresh and be able to meet Xavier head on. I mean, do you have any feel for how the Friars might be able to play tonight?
I'll be interested to see where Jared Bynum is. We saw him get a cameo appearance in the DePaul game. He was bumped up to about 14, 15 minutes against Connecticut. Can he take another jump with the week off and, some time to maybe mentally recharge here? Can he take more of an actual, I don't know if he will supplant Alan Breed in the starting lineup, but can he go maybe 20 plus minutes tonight? That's what I'll be really keeping an eye on.
Yeah. And, I think a lineup that we just haven't had a chance to see all that much because Breed was really, I guess, not ready to play at a high level when Bynum was playing an awful lot early in the year. I want to see those two guys together and David Duke and maybe AJ Reeves and a post player. I think we can see that lineup, and I think it'd be an interesting one for the Friars because both, Reeves and Breed rebound the ball very well.
Reeves rebounds well. Duke rebounds the ball well. I was looking through the stats today, Kevin. I believe he's second to only Nate Watson in rebounding. And, from my pregame article, I talked to old friend Joe Hassett, and he talks about how much he loves Alan Breed. And, if there was a benefit to Jared Bynum missing so much time, is that we really got to see Alan Breed as opposed to earlier there when he was getting token minutes.
I misspoke. I meant Duke and Breed. Those two guys both rebound the ball very well for guys who have the ball in their hands. So Xavier is in a really interesting spot. They haven't played a lot of games because of numerous COVID pauses. They had a very important win in their last game. Now they're on the road. We know that the first meeting with Providence was only decided on a really fortunate, I'm not going to say lucky, but a really fortunate last second 3-point shot by a freshman way back in early, I'm trying to think if it was early January. What do you think? Have you had a chance to see Xavier very much?
I haven't seen a ton of them since, but I was just looking through the numbers, Kevin. 59 on the Ken Palm. They don't have Villanova on the schedule. And, looking at Joel and Artie, they have him as the Musketeers as their last four in. My question is, who have they really beaten outside of Oklahoma this year? And they've kind of been like the old take care of business, but in terms of a signature win, now granted they have Creighton coming up on Saturday. Mm-hmm. How can you really say that this is an NCAA tournament team as we head down the end of February?
No, I'm with you. They have work to do. They lost to Connecticut at home. I think that may have been their first game off a pause and couldn't get that done. You mentioned they've already played Villanova once. Bottom line is they probably can't come in and afford a loss to Providence. I think the Big East right now is really interesting. You see DePaul playing well, that they beat St. John's. Georgetown, we've seen Georgetown step up and have some really good games, beat Providence. The bottom of the league is dangerous. These bubble teams, and there's quite a few bubble teams in the Big East right now. Besides Xavier, I think Connecticut is certainly in that group, and St. John's. St. John's 2 weeks ago was trending in the right way. They really haven't played badly. They've just run into some of the lower end Big East teams who are dangerous. And I watched that St. John's DePaul game at St. John's. DePaul outplayed them. Simple as that. Charlie Moore is a very good player. He stepped up and he did a great job and got it done for DePaul. But it does leave teams like Xavier, Connecticut, maybe even Seton Hall as well. Seton Hall better watch what they do down the stretch here, or else the Big East on NCAA tournament selection day is going to be holding its breath.
Obviously there's probably two locks right now, Creighton and Villanova. After that, it's really a crapshoot in my book. And that middle is really stretchy to the point where it's trending towards the bottom. And my question is, can PC, if they have a good run here, 2-1, maybe even sweep, are they kind of back in the conversation going into New York?
Well, a bye is still attainable, which is interesting. It'll be, if Providence were to win its last three, I don't know how the tiebreakers would fall, but it'd be pretty close where Providence could be in the top four. And as you know, with 11 teams, I'm trying to think how they would do it. Is it 5 teams get byes this year?
I think the first day is supposed to be a triple header.
Got it. So 6 teams. So yeah, the top 5 would get byes. I think Providence could work its way into that top 5. Now that's heavy lifting. Xavier tonight, and then a trip to St. John's, and then Villanova coming in for the last game of the regular season. Those are 3 teams that all need to win for various reasons. Villanova, as you said, is certainly in the tournament, but Villanova is playing for a top 3 or 4 seed. They can't afford many losses, and I know they still play Creighton. So Villanova's got a tough stretch of games here to wrap things up. Back to the Friars, though, specifically, I'll be curious if Nate Watson. So Nate Watson's production, I'm just finishing up a feature on Watson. His production has dropped off, but his turnovers, I think he's become a better passer out of double teams. Teams have realized that one-on-one, Nate Watson's just a load. You don't want to leave him one-on-one in the post with pretty much anyone. And he's done a good job with kicking the ball out. The issue is the guys he's kicking it out to aren't scoring. And I think it'll be interesting to see if Providence can get Nate Watson going again and get him, 10 shots a game, which has been a challenge in the last month or so.
And I wrestled this year a lot with Kevin. Who do you want to, kind of get off to a good start? Is it Nate Watson or is it AJ Reeves? And I point to the Georgetown game where AJ went off on a major blitz, probably had his best game of the year.
Yeah.
But do you want to do the outside the other side of the equation where you have Nate Watson, who is kind of an outlier in today's college basketball world, a true low post, back to the basket guy, get him going, and maybe you switch the defense. And you mentioned, and like you said, he's become a much better passer in the last maybe month or so. Mm-hmm. And if he can get the ball and there's a double team and swing it, that kind of and guys are hitting shots, it's almost a pick your poison option for the opposing team.
Yeah, my pick of those two, I'd start inside out, work the ball to Nate right away. But I tell you, these other teams, they're not dumb. I like to say, everyone's like, well, how can Nate Watson only take 6 shots? Well, because the other team doesn't want him to take 6 shots. They're running double teams at him. That said, if he can pass out of those double teams and guys like AJ and Greg Gant and obviously Duke and Breed and Bynum can make jump shots, he'll have more chances to work one-on-one. But I think Ed Cooley knows that he can do things in his offense to isolate Nate, get Nate on the move a little bit instead of just throwing him the ball in the post and letting him go to work. That's just too easy to defend. And again, these opposing teams have figured that out pretty easily. I'm curious, Brendan, your take on some of the guys on the bench. The bench has really not produced on a consistent basis. Some guys have not been able to to blossom despite quite a bit of playing time. Greg Gant would be in that. Bryson Godin really hasn't had a lot of consistent playing time, but we haven't seen progress out of him. Who do we need to see off the bench to be able to give the Friars a push here to the finish line?
I thought maybe a couple games ago, the one game against Seton Hall when the Friars got blown out at home, I thought that was going to be a turning point for Bryson Godin. And it really hasn't, Kevin. He hasn't gotten a lot of minutes since then. And, maybe I'm a guy who wants to have a guard come in and have some instant offense and outside shooting. That's the guy that I think could be an option for Ed Cooley down the stretch here in terms of production off the bench. You're right. The bench has been a sore spot for this team this year, especially with Noah Horchler moving into the starting lineup. You take his minutes away from the bench crew, and it's really been a true famine area. But I think if Bryson can come in and supply the offense, but that also is an indication of where's he kind of fit in terms of this team. Can he be a guy who comes in and hits shots right away? We haven't seen that.
Yeah, and I think the addition of Bynum back into the mix, basically, I think he's going to check that box as the guard off the bench, he or Breed. And it just shows that they've missed Bynum sorely. Or any guard off the bench. And I think, again, that'll either be Breed or Bynum going forward, hopefully to the end of the line here. Last one, Brendan. It looks as if the Big East will allow some fans into the Garden for the Big East tournament. I'm hearing two things. It could be as much as 200-300 per team, or they're not going to do that, and it's just going to be friends and family of the players and the coaches. I guess the question is, does it matter? I mean, if there's 1,000, 1,500 people knocking around Madison Square Garden?
I really don't. I mean, you've been to Madison Square Garden a ton. I've been there. I mean, 1,500 people. It's like empty. It'd be like church almost. It's right. Totally quiet atmosphere.
Yeah, and I think the players have gotten used to playing without fans. It is what it is. If you turn the Knicks on right now, I think the Knicks are allowing 10%, so about 2,000 people in the Garden. So I think New York State is allowing that much, but I don't know if the Big East is going to choose to go that far. I think it might open up too many problems with testing and, obviously social distancing, cleaning the building in between sessions. It just might be a problem that they choose to avoid. But I do hear that we could get an official announcement on that sometime this week or early next week. So any fans choosing or holding out hope to go to the Big East tournament, I think you just might want to take a year off. It's been that kind of a year, unfortunately.
Those Amtrak rides down to New York might be a little bit less.
Could be. I've checked my prices. It looks like you won't have to pay $100 to get on the Acela these days. It's a different pricing model. But Brendan, I'll let you go. I know you got to get to 5 games today. Enjoy. Will you be at the Jim Donaldson Senior Gym, or are you going to be at Shea?
No, they will be at Jenks Middle School, in the shadows of McCoy Stadium. Tolman and Shea did not use their home gyms this winter for social distancing reasons.
I see.
Jenks actually has a bigger court than either Pawtucket school, so that's where they've stationed their games this winter.
I've been in a lot of gyms in Rhode Island, all sorts, shapes, and sizes. I have never been to Jenks Middle School's gym, so I trust you will enjoy it, and you can fill us in tonight as to who won the Battle of Pawtucket. But thanks very much, Brendan. I appreciate it very much.
Kevin, appreciate it as always. Thank you.